This is Kyle D with Taylor Ryan, and we're here today for episode 3 of our interview series. This podcast is brought to you by Taylor Ryan, a strategic search and talent acquisition partner specializing in construction and engineering, real estate, development, and accounting and finance, and made possible by Hire Technologies, redefining the future of talent acquisition. If you're building your team or looking for your next career move, check us out at taylorryan.com. This month, we're joined by Stephen Branch, Managing Director of 360 VCM, a consulting firm that is dedicated to advancing high-performance buildings using modular building techniques, including volumetric modular construction, mass timber, and panelized systems. Previously the president of Metric Modular and Britco Construction, and numerous VP and senior management roles at Ritchie Bros. Stephen, you have almost 20 years of senior leadership experience, not to date you too much.
You just did.
I did, a little bit, yeah. But it's great to have you here. I'm really excited. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Let's get right into it. So what's your favorite part about working in construction, or your favorite thing about working in construction?
Oh, the creative process. Yeah, working with a team and the creative process. That I love. I love of getting together, thinking out how we're going to go after either a customer or go after a business or go after how we're going to tackle the building process itself. Every step of the way is a creative endeavor. Building is a creative. It's a creative science. I love it.
Creative science. Okay, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to young professionals at the beginning of their career in construction or otherwise?
I think you're going to know what I'm going to answer. Take every lateral move you can possibly take. Always, always, always don't be so in a rush to climb the corporate ladder. Be more in a rush at the early stages to get the better foundation. So try to be broader. You specialize later. Don't specialize too soon. Get a better understanding of business as a whole. So take the lateral moves as much as you can until you find your spot where you really want to be, then rise.
And I'm glad you said that. And when you started speaking, and I remembered what you were going to say, I'm glad you used that example. And I think I remember you telling a story about how you had a colleague that you were working with at one point who went straight up the ladder, just as fast as he could.
Yeah.
And, where you took every opportunity to take every lateral step, and then perhaps you'd move up a little bit and take another lateral step. And you eventually got to the same point that he had reached in his career so much faster. But then you were able to keep advancing, whereas he had sort of become
stalled out,
pigeonholed, or
he stalled out.
He maxed out.
He maxed out. He didn't have as much foundation to grow further, right? So he took, and he still had a great life. Yeah, still everything's great, right? He's doing well still today, but never got to that senior level that he really wanted.
Yeah,
I wasn't necessarily after that. I was just really interested in other things.
Yeah.
But I realized by doing so, it gave me a better foundation.
Yeah. That is really great advice. And it's advice that I've repeated from you to other people. What do you look for when you interview somebody?
I always, I've never been good at sports, but I've always wanted to be. And I always think of creating a team as like creating a sport. So I always look at, how is this person going to fit in with the team? The skill sets, yes, and the technical knowledge is yes, but it's really about how do I perceive them working with that team. And I remember one time, one of the guys that influenced me in life talked about interviews and he said, you got to imagine if you're going to be locked in this room with the person with 24 or 48 hours. Can you handle them for 24 or 48 hours? If you can't handle them for 24 or 48 hours, you shouldn't hire them.
That's a great piece of advice.
Yeah, don't hire them. And so that really influenced me on how do they fit in the team. Would the team, if they were in a confined space, would they get along?
And I mean, that also, coming at it from that perspective, that forces you to have a certain knowledge of the characteristics of your existing team and their skills.
Very much.
To know how this new potential person is going to complement that existing skill set.
Yeah. I've always been a believer in things like Strengths Quest from like Gallup, or there's other types of things out there, but to help get self-awareness of your team and to be transparent about self-awareness so that people know how each of us are wired, and so that they understand, when I make these decisions, why am I making them this way? Well, I'm wired this way. Well, and then I want to understand why they're not acting on it, because they're wired that way. So I think it's really important to understand and create something that can facilitate that internal understanding for the team to understand each other, not just the individual.
Awesome. I like it. What has been the greatest lesson learned from your time in the industry?
It is that people matter, that it is truly about how you interact with people. I believe in chase your principle and money will follow, but if you chase money, then you'll get corrupted. So I truly believe in that, following that principle, living that principle. That's kind of the,
I had a close friend, tell me just the other week that he heard somewhere, and he's adopted that he tries not to be a man of value, but a man of principles.
Yeah.
And I think that's along the same line as what you're
along
talking
the exact same line. Like know your principles that you live by. It'll drive your values.
Yeah. I mean, this question, ties right into it, and maybe you've already answered it, but at the end of the day, what really matters?
Oh, people.
Yeah.
Your interaction with people. That's what matters, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're dead and gone, it's how you influence those people. That's, to me, what matters. That's the part that says, did I do enough that I influence other people to be positive in life or negative in life? Did I help them get to a better place in life or a worse place in life? That, to me, that's all that matters. And when you're put in positions of power, you got to take it seriously that you influence people, and how you react is very important on how those people feel good about themselves. Not that you're responsible for everyone else's actions, but you're responsible for your action, how they influence them, right? So you can either destroy a career or help a career.
And probably something that's easy to forget, especially as you get higher and more senior leadership roles, when you're so driven towards KPI and managing the P&L, forgetting the shadow that you cast on the group of people that are looking up to you.
Yeah, and if you're so focused on the P&L that you forget how you get to the P&L, that's scary, right? And I've worked with people that are only P&L directed, and then I worked with people that knew that it was the people that got you the right P&L, right? So if you can inspire them, not motivate them, if you can inspire them to continue on, then you got something. Right?
Some of the most successful companies that I've seen, the very small difference is that they treat their employees like assets rather than treating them like a cost.
Yeah. And I'd like to take it even further. I hope we treat people like people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that yes, they are the asset, but it is. I don't want to sound Marxist, but all value comes from people. It's what the people do with the things around them. That's what crosses value. That's what makes skyscrapers. That's what makes this car. Right. Like it is that. Right?
Yeah. So. Absolutely. What has been the role of strong leadership in your career development?
Leadership is. The only reason why I got into leadership is because of other leaders, right? Leadership breeds other leaders, right? So whether they're good or bad, I've had so many different types of leaders over the years that I started to become self-aware early enough to know, well, that's good leadership and that's sucky leadership, and be able to work with. And of course, I worked with Ritchie Brothers for many, many years. So I got to see a lot of different relationships of leaderships within one organization, and how different people interpret different rules and regulations within that corporation, and how they respond had a huge impact on my own leadership style, my ability to communicate with people and understand really what matters most. I think is people.
It's
Right.
interesting. I can sort of draw a parallel to, higher education, going to university. You can often take the same course in one semester, and it's taught by a certain lecturer. And if somebody else takes it the next semester, it's a different lecturer.
Yeah.
And although it's the same course and the same material, they have an entirely different experience. And it can be the same thing. You can be working in the same corporation, but under a different manager, and have an entirely different experience, whether that's positive or negative. And what an impact that would have on, your time there, and the rest of your career.
Oh, huge.
What is the best advice that you've ever received, or maybe the most memorable in this moment when I'm asking you the question?
You got me stumped on that. I got lots of different things but what's the best? What's the most? I mean, I think I was influenced two guys influenced me the most, and they were both opposite of each other. One started off looking at things always positive. One started looking at things negative. And these are both two different leaders. And I realized that I needed to look at the guy who started off negative more than the guy who started off positive. Why? Because I was always starting off positive. So I learned a lot from looking at people that were opposite of me and not looking at people that were the same as me. And so that, I think that answers the question. I'm trying to remember what the question was, but I remember that being, for me, that most profound thing was to come to that realization that I need to be influenced by people that are less like me than more like me.
Yeah, which is less comfortable.
Oh, way less comfortable.
But more beneficial.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think marks a good company culture?
I've been lucky enough to work with some really established great cultures. Ritchie Brothers had a great culture. Britco had a great culture. And part of those cultures were that ability to believe in the people around you. You believed in them. There was a lot of trust factor. You were also working towards a common valued goal. And I think that was probably the biggest key for a culture, is that the values of the individual, the principles of the individual, and the principles of the company, when they're aligned, they get a great culture. When they're disaligned, then it's not a great culture. You got conflict.
What excites you about working in construction, or what are you excited about right now in construction?
Oh, geez, the opportunities right now is insane. The stuff that's going on and what we're seeing. I just think there's oodles and oodles of opportunity right now. So I mean, I'm just excited that I'm with three other people starting this company. We're all equal partners in this company, and it's exciting to be able to take the years of experience that we have and be able to help others reach their dreams in the creative endeavors, the creative science of construction.
That's right.
Right? Yeah.
For those listening, make sure to follow us on YouTube and LinkedIn so that you don't miss the next episode, where my goal is really just to ask good questions and see where it goes.
Yeah, this was fun. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks so much.